Handle it. Those were the only words my father said when I called him from the driveway, staring at my childhood home with a glaring red "Sold" sign plunged into the front yard. My name's Ryan. I was 22, 3 weeks into summer break from Kansas State University, with all my possessions stuffed into cardboard boxes, now damp from the morning dew in Topeka, Kansas. I'd driven 8 hours straight from campus, windows open, music blaring, dreaming of my mom's home-cooked meals and crashing in my old bed. Instead, I saw strangers hauling furniture through the front door I used to enter every day after school. My key didn't work, the locks had been changed. The moving truck parked in the driveway wasn't ours. I knocked on the door like a fool. A woman in her 50s opened it, sized me up, and asked, "Can I assist you?" She had no clue who I was. Why would she? My parents had sold our house to her family and never mentioned they had a son. My phone pinged with a text from my dad. "Moved to Arizona. Your stuff's outside. Good luck." That was it. 22 years in that house, reduced to a text. I called him 3 times before he answered. His voice was flat, like he was reciting lines. "Ryan, we made a choice. Your mom and I are starting over. You're grown now." "Sort it out. Where am I supposed to live?" I asked. "Not my concern anymore." The call ended. I sat on the curb by my boxes and tried my mom, straight to voicemail. I tried my dad again, voicemail. I dialed the house phone they'd had for 15 years, disconnected. The new owners stepped outside and asked if I needed help moving my things. They were polite, but I could see the unease in their eyes. A college kid camped out on their new driveway with his life in boxes wasn't the warm welcome they'd expected. I loaded everything into my beat-up Honda Civic. 2 boxes of clothes, 1 box of books, my old guitar, and a plastic bin of random stuff from my room. Everything else I'd ever owned was gone. My bed, my desk, the photo albums my mom used to show me when I was a kid. All of it. Gone. As I drove off, I glanced in the rearview mirror at the house where I'd learned to ride a bike, where I'd brought dates to meet my parents, where I thought I'd always have a place. The "Sold" sign stood there like a taunt aimed directly at me. I should have seen it coming. The clues were there, scattered like puzzle pieces I was too naive to connect. My parents had acted differently during my sophomore year, shorter calls, fewer visits when I came home for holidays. My dad, who used to ask about my classes and friends, started treating our talks like briefings. "Grades okay? Need cash? Good." My mom stopped sending care packages, those boxes of homemade cookies and handwritten notes that used to come every few weeks. First the notes stopped, then the cookies, then the calls entirely. I grew up in that house on Maple Street, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a backyard where my dad taught me to throw a football. We weren't wealthy, but we were steady. My dad worked construction for Hollowgate Systems, building warehouses and offices around town. My mom ran the front desk at a dental practice. They'd owned the house for 25 years, bought it right after their wedding. During Christmas break my junior year, I saw my mom packing boxes in the basement. When I asked, she said they were donating old clothes to charity. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Parents don't lie about things like that. My dad started mentioning retirement more often. He was 58, my mom 55, not old enough to retire, but old enough to plan. He brought up Arizona a few times, saying the weather would be easier on his back. I thought it was just talk. Their calls grew briefer. My mom would pass the phone to my dad after 30 seconds and he'd wrap up in another minute. "Everything's fine, son. Focus on school," I called less often. College kept me busy, friends, girlfriends, a part-time job at the campus bookstore. I was building my own life, thinking that's what they wanted. Independence, maturity, all the things parents are supposed to want for their kids. Spring semester, I tried calling home on a random Tuesday. No answer. I tried again Wednesday. No answer. When I finally reached them on Thursday, my dad sounded annoyed. "Ryan, we're busy. You can't just call whenever and expect us to drop everything." I'd called twice in 3 days. "We have lives too." That call lasted 45 seconds. The last time I spoke to my mom was 2 weeks before finals. She sounded distant, preoccupied. When I asked if everything was okay, she said, "Things are changing, Ryan. You'll get it when you're older." I should have pressed her, should have asked what she meant. Should have driven home that weekend instead of cramming for my economics exam. Instead, I trusted them to be my parents. That first night, I slept in my car in a Walmart parking lot, trying to wrap my head around what had happened. My parents hadn't just moved. They'd erased me from their lives like I was a mistake they wanted to forget. The boxes in my backseat held everything left of my 22 years. I opened the plastic bin and found my high school diploma, a few old photos, and a letter I'd written to my future self in 8th grade. The letter gushed about how excited I was to graduate college, return to Topeka, and maybe take over my dad's business someday. That kid had no idea his parents would discard him like trash. I called my high school buddy Tyler, but he was working in Denver. I tried my college roommate, but he was back in Oklahoma City for the summer. I had other friends, but explaining this over the phone felt impossible. Hey, my parents sold our house and ditched me wasn't casual chit-chat. The next morning I drove to my dad's work site. Hollowgate Systems was building a distribution center on the south side of town, and I knew he'd be there. I spotted his truck in the lot and waited. When he came out for lunch, he saw me on my car's hood and approached like I was a stranger. "You need to stop this, Ryan." "Stop what?" "Asking why you sold our house without telling me. It wasn't your house, your mom and I bought it, we can sell it. I lived there my whole life. You live at college now, you're an adult. Act like one." He turned to leave and something in me broke, not anger, but something colder. "You're really going to pretend I don't exist?" He paused but didn't turn. "You exist. You just don't live with us anymore. Where am I supposed to go for Christmas, summer, when I need my family? Figure it out." He got in his truck and drove off without a glance. I sat there for 20 minutes, watching construction workers who probably had kids of their own, wondering if any of them would abandon their children like my dad just had. That afternoon, I tried my mom one last time. Voicemail. I left a message. "Mom, it's Ryan. I don't get what's happening, but I love you. If you change your mind, if you want to explain, you have my number." She never called back. I deleted their numbers that night. If they wanted to act like I didn't exist, I'd do the same. I spent that summer couch surfing and pulling double shifts at a downtown Topeka restaurant. My plan was simple. Save money, finish college, and build a life that didn't rely on people who could walk away. Senior year passed in a haze of classes, work, and tight budgeting. I graduated with a business management degree and a job offer from Vacant Holdings, a supply chain company in Kansas City. The pay was solid, enough for a small apartment and a stable start. For 2 years, I kept my head down, worked hard, made friends with colleagues, and dated a woman named Jessica for 8 months. I convinced myself I was better off without parents who could abandon their son without a reason. But late at night, when the apartment was silent, I wondered, were they happy in Arizona? Did they think of me? Did they regret it? I never reached out. Pride, maybe, or self-preservation. Either way, I let the silence grow. Then, in October of my second year at Vacant, I got a call from an unfamiliar Arizona number. "Ryan," the voice was older, shakier, but unmistakably my mom's. "Mom! Ryan, I'm so sorry, so sorry." She was sobbing. In 24 years, I'd heard her cry maybe 3 times, never like this. "Where have you been?" My words came out sharper than I meant. "Ryan, your dad's sick. He's been sick for 2 years, cancer. The doctors say maybe 3 months left." The phone felt like a brick in my hand. "What? We sold the house to pay for treatments. We moved to Arizona for a specialist, a clinical trial. We spent everything and it's not working." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Your dad wouldn't let me. He said you were starting your life and didn't want you wasting your 20s watching him die." "So you cut me out completely?" "It was wrong. I know it was wrong, but your dad's stubborn. He was scared you'd drop out of college to care for him, scared you'd give up your future for a man who was already dying. That was my choice to make." "I know." Her voice broke. "I know, and I'm sorry. I've wanted to call you every day for 2 years, but he made me promise. And now," she sobbed again, "now he's asking for you. He wants to see you before he dies." My dad, who'd told me to handle it and driven away, wanted to see me. The man who'd erased me was seeking forgiveness on his deathbed. "Ryan, please, I know we don't deserve it, but please come home." Home. She called it home, even though they'd sold the only home I'd known and left me with boxes in a stranger's driveway. "I need to think about it. I understand. I'll send you our address. And Ryan, I love you. I never stopped loving you." After she hung up, I sat in my apartment for 3 hours, staring at the text with their Phoenix address. Part of me wanted to delete it and pretend the call never happened. They'd made their choice 2 years ago, but another part, the part that missed having parents, wondered if something could be salvaged. I called my boss, requested time off, and booked a flight. I didn't know if it was the right call, but I couldn't live with not trying. Their address led to a modest apartment complex on Phoenix's outskirts. The Arizona heat slammed me when I stepped out of my rental car, but it was nothing compared to seeing my dad. He'd lost maybe 50 pounds. His face was gaunt, his skin ashen, his hands trembling as he reached for a glass of water. The man who used to work construction all day and still toss a football with me was fading away. "Ryan," his voice was a whisper. "You came." Mom called, tears welled in his eyes. "I didn't think you would." We sat in their small living room, surrounded by furniture from our old house, the couch where we watched football, the coffee table where Mom set out snacks for my friends. Pieces of our past in this strange new place. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. He closed his eyes. "Because I was a coward." "That's not an answer." "Ryan, when the doctor said I had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, my first thought was you. You were 20, just starting your life, and I couldn't bear the thought of this ruining everything you were building." "So you ruined it by abandoning me? I thought a clean break would let you focus on school, your future, instead of watching me die." My mom sat in the kitchen, giving us space, but I could see her shoulders trembling. "You took my choice away," I said. "You decided what was best without asking what I wanted." "I know," his voice cracked. "I've regretted it every day, but Ryan, look at me. Look at what this disease has done. You think I wanted you to see me like this? I think I wanted the chance to be your son." That broke him. My dad, the strongest man I knew, sobbed deep, raw sobs that seemed to come from somewhere beyond pain. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. I thought I was protecting you, but I was just a scared old man who didn't know how to be sick." We talked for hours. He told me about the treatments, the fleeting hopes, the moments when the doctors thought they'd stopped the cancer, and the devastation when it returned worse. He spoke of lying awake, wanting to call me but convincing himself my silence meant I was better off. My mom admitted to 312 missed calls on their voicemail. Every week for 2 years, she'd wanted to break her promise and call. Every week my dad insisted they'd made their choice. "We never stopped loving you," she said. "We never stopped being proud. We just didn't know how to be your parents anymore." When I left that night, I wasn't sure I could forgive them. The trust they'd shattered couldn't be mended with apologies. But I couldn't walk away again, not while my dad was dying, not while there was a chance to save something. I took a leave from work and stayed in Phoenix for 3 months. My boss, who'd lost his own father, understood. Those months were the hardest and most meaningful of my life. My dad worsened weekly. Some days he couldn't leave bed. Others he had energy to sit outside and share stories. His childhood meeting Mom, my birth. We caught up on the 2 years we'd lost and mourned the future we wouldn't have. I learned things I'd never known. My dad grew up poor, son of a drunk factory worker and a mother working 3 jobs. He joined the military after high school, served 4 years, and used his GI benefits to learn construction. Everything he'd built came from nothing. "I wanted to give you what I never had," he said one afternoon by the apartment pool. "A stable home, parents who showed up, a foundation." "You did," I said, "until you took it away." "I know. I'll regret that forever." My mom had her own regrets. She spoke of crying herself to sleep, missing me, wondering if I was eating, if I was happy. She'd fought my dad about cutting contact, but agreed because she trusted him and was scared too. "I thought a clean break would hurt less," she said, "but it just hurt differently." I began to understand their choices, even if I couldn't fully forgive them. Fear makes people do awful things, and my parents had been more afraid than I'd realized. But understanding didn't erase 2 years of silence, 2 years of believing they didn't love me, 2 years of building walls around my heart. We rebuilt what we could. I took my dad to appointments, sat through chemo, and helped my mom with tasks he couldn't manage. We watched football on Sundays, and he taught me construction tricks I'd never learned as a kid. One evening on their balcony, watching the sunset, he said, "Ryan, promise me something." "What?" "When you have kids, when life gets scary, trust them to handle it." "Dad, I can't promise that. No one knows what they'll do when they're scared." "Fair enough," he paused. "But try. I'll try." 3 weeks later, my dad died in his sleep. My mom and I were there, holding his hands, telling him we loved him. It wasn't peaceful, but it wasn't alone. At the funeral, I realized I was glad I'd come to Phoenix. I'd chosen forgiveness over anger, understanding over resentment. It didn't fix everything, but it fixed enough. After the funeral, I helped my mom sort through his things. In a box of old papers, we found something that changed everything. A life insurance policy from 20 years ago, naming me the sole beneficiary. $300,000. My mom stared at the documents like they were in another language. "He never told me." The agent explained my dad had paid premiums for decades, even when they struggled with rent. Even when he cut me out, he was ensuring I'd be taken care of. "He updated it 2 years ago," the agent said, "right before moving to Arizona, added a note that the money was for your future." Attached was a letter in my dad's handwriting. Ryan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope you can forgive a stubborn old man who made the worst mistake of his life. This money isn't meant to fix what I did. Nothing can, but maybe it can help you build the life you deserve. I love you, son. I always did, even when I was too scared to show it. My mom cried again. He was always planning ahead, always trying to take care of everyone, even when he didn't know how. I used part of the money to move my mom to Kansas City near me. She got a job at a medical office and a small apartment 15 minutes away. We started having dinner every Sunday, rebuilding what had been broken by 2 years of silence. We didn't pretend those years didn't happen. They did, and they changed us. But we built something new on the ruins of what we'd lost. My mom met Jessica T.